After a disastrous 6-11 season in 2023, the New York Giants might just have assembled a roster good enough to seriously contend for a playoff spot in the NFC East in 2024. I know what you're thinking. Saquon Barkley just jumped ship to join the division rival Philadelphia Eagles, Daniel Jones remains the quarterback, and Darren Waller is still hanging on. How could you possibly think that the New York Giants are even remotely close to postseason action? Well, because they just drafted the best wide receiver in the 2024 draft class. Not Marvin Harrison Jr., not Rome Odunze, but the man who holds the all-time career receiving yards record at LSU, Malik Nabers. The 6-foot, 200-pound wide receiver from Louisiana will be the best rookie wide receiver in the NFL and the best Giants rookie since OBJ in 2014. Before we talk about how the Giants have already managed to put together a winning football team this offseason after an extraordinarily underwhelming 2023 season, let's get to know the rookie that will complete this team and help them reach the postseason. Malik Nabers was born in Youngsville, Louisiana, just a 90-minute drive from Baton Rouge, where he would eventually become an NCAA football legend. The Louisiana native attended Ovicomo High School in Lafayette, Louisiana. There, Nabers played football and also competed in track and field and basketball. In his final year playing high school football, the tri-sport athlete recorded 58 receptions for 1,223 yards and an insane 21 touchdowns. Nabers transferred from Como before his senior year, hoping to play his final year of high school football in his hometown at Southside High School in Youngsville, Louisiana. Unfortunately, despite already having made the move, Nabers' transfer was denied, depriving him of the ability to play and was sidelining him for his entire senior year. Although he was forced to support his team from the bench in his senior year, the tape from his playing time at Como was enough to prove he belonged at a Power 5 school. After originally committing to Mississippi State in July 2020, he decided to stay in state and play for the home team, switching to LSU in December of 2020. In 2021, Nabers headed down to Death Valley to join the Tigers, determined to put on a show for his state. He didn't have many growing pains moving up to the next level and made an impact at LSU the second he stepped onto the field. One of the only adjustments Nabers had to make as a part of the transition from high school level was that he had to get used to sharing the ball. Other LSU receivers like Keyshawn Butte and Jere Jenkins had already solidified themselves as primary options in 2020. After a slow college debut against Auburn, where he finished with a pair of catches for 30 yards, Nabers started to get comfortable. His best game of 2021 came against Louisiana Monroe, where he went for his career best 143 yards and 1 touchdown on 4 catches. The freshman played in 11 games and started in 6, totaling 28 receptions for 417 yards and 4 touchdowns in the 2021 season. For his efforts, Nabers ended up with freshman All-ACC honors and gave hope to the Tigers fan base that he would be a force to be reckoned with in the future. In 2022, he proved it. Coming off a decent freshman campaign, Nabers took a tremendous jump. He quickly became the first option for the LSU offense, creating a considerable gap between himself and the other lead receivers for the Tigers. Nabers finished the season with 72 catches for 1,017 yards and 3 touchdowns. It was just the 10th 1,000-yard receiving season in LSU history and the first since Jamar Chase and Justin Jefferson did it in 2019. In 2022, he led the SEC in receptions and was starting to be noticed nationwide. His actual coming out party came in January 2023, where the LSU Tigers played the Purdue Boilermakers in the Citrus Bowl. The sophomore caught 9 passes for 163 yards, including a 75-yard touchdown. As if his receiving performance wasn't enough, he threw a 5-yard touchdown pass to Jaden Daniels in the 63-7 win over the Boilermakers. The classic performance rightfully earned him the title of Citrus Bowl MVP, leading him to become an LSU fan favorite for the rest of his career. While being one of the most popular guys on the LSU campus certainly comes with perks, it also comes with expectations and pressure. And going into his junior year at LSU, Nabers had plenty. He had cemented himself as the clear-cut wide receiver 1 for Jaden Daniels and the Tigers, and while his sophomore year was a great success, Nabers still felt like he had something to prove. As of a 417-yard freshman season followed by a 1,017-yard sophomore season wasn't impressive enough, Nabers elevated his game to an even higher level in 2023. The junior started all 13 games and finished his final year at LSU with 89 receptions for 1,569 yards and 14 touchdowns, all career highs. Malik made the first team All-SEC roster and was named a consensus All-American. He ranked second in the nation in receiving yards and led the FBS in plays of over 20 yards and 30 yards. On top of this, he also led the SEC in receiving yards and receptions, showing beyond doubt that he was one of the best receivers in the nation. He was a big play waiting to happen, and they came on a weekly basis. It was a junior season that firmly placed him in the conversation with other LSU legends, showcasing a statistical explosion that is comparable to the likes of Justin Jefferson and Jamar Chase. After a dominant year at LSU, Malik decided it was time to bring his talents to the next level and declare for the NFL draft. Scouts around the country were ecstatic to hear that he was coming to the league, captivated by his tape throughout the entire 2023 season. The junior immediately shot to the top of draft boards, competing with Ohio State standout wide receiver Marvin Harrison Jr. for the top spot. The impressive performances continued through the combine, with NFL analyst Field Yates dubbing him the most explosive player in the class. Another analyst, Lance Zierlein, stated that his athletic ability makes the impossible catches possible. scouts weren't the only people to notice, with the LSU receiver becoming increasingly attractive to NFL franchises across the country. With the number 6 pick in the 2024 draft, the New York Giants saw an opportunity for history to repeat itself. It was in 2014 that Odell Beckham Jr. joined the team as an exciting prospect out of LSU. 10 years later, the Giants will be hoping that their next LSU recruit, Malik Nabers, can produce a similar impact. There were some talks of the Giants trading up to the number 4 spot in the 2024 draft to try and grab quarterback J.J. McCarthy out of Michigan, but ultimately, they decided to stick and pick the freak athlete at the wide receiver position. Even after Daniel Jones' disappointing 2023 season, the Giants decided that the real game changer they needed wasn't at the quarterback position. They threw all the talk of grabbing a new signal caller in the first round in the trash and went all in on Nabers, which shows how much this franchise values him. Now, the Giants have had a multitude of problems over the past year at multiple positions on both sides of the ball. So you might wonder, why is having a true wide receiver one the one thing that changes everything and allows them to succeed? Because Malik Nabers will be the first true alpha receiver in New York since 2018. While Daniel Jones hasn't exactly been the answer to the Giants since he was drafted in 2019, it's not completely his fault. Not only has he had one of the worst offensive lines in the league, which we'll talk about later, but he also hasn't had a number 1 receiver that he can trust week in and week out. The last time the Duke alum had a receiver go for 800 yards in a season was 2018, when he was still in college with the Blue Devils. In his 5 seasons with the Giants, no wide receiver has surpassed the 780-yard mark, and his options have been far from ideal. Other than the consistent mediocrity from Darius Slayton, the Giants wide receiver room has been a constant carousel, torturing Daniel Jones and dooming him to mediocrity as well. From guys like Golden Tate, Sterling Shepard, and Evan Engram, to his recent targets of Kadarius Toney and Kenny Golladay, Daniel Jones and the New York front office haven't found that perfect group of guys. In the 2024 offseason, the Giants have changed that. In addition to their new favorite weapon, Nabers, the Giants have begun to transform their wide receiver room. One of the biggest upgrades was the addition of Pro Bowler Allen Robinson, who was cut from the Steelers in March. Having been in the league for a decade, the 6'3" wideout will be the perfect veteran to help guide Nabers through his first couple of seasons in the league. In addition to signing Allen, the Giants staff have also made another very sensible priority: nourishing their offensive line. If you haven't been keeping up with the Giants O-line since Jones was drafted in 2019, I can get you up to speed. They have been absolutely atrocious. Since the Giants drafted Jones in 2019, he's been sacked 179 times, the 3rd most in the NFL. You would think there would have been some improvements in the past 5 years, but in 2023, their pass blocking was historically bad. According to Anthony Del Genio of SB Nation, the Giants had not only the worst Pro Football Focus pass blocking grade in the NFL last season, but the worst in the 2 decades that PFF has been tracking offensive line performance. Because of this, the Giants opted to revamp the O-line in the 2024 offseason. Former Green Bay Packers guard Jon Runyan signed a 3-year, $30 million deal in March. Runyan has been a regular starter for the Packers since 2021 and is known for his quick feet and superb pass blocking. The Giants also went out and signed Jermaine Illuminor to a 2-year, $14 million contract. According to ESPN, Illuminor had an 87.9% pass block win rate at tackle in 2023, which is a significant upgrade over most of what the Giants were putting out there. The new duo should help relieve some of Daniel Jones' pressure in the passing game and give him sufficient time to find a wide open Nabers downfield. In addition to the new signees, tackle Andrew Thomas should return to the Giants at full strength for the 2024 season. Thomas pulled his hamstring in the first possession of the 2023 season and missed 7 straight games, a stretch during which the Giants went 2-5. If he can stay healthy, his return will give the O-line a major boost. To make this offense less one-dimensional after Saquon Barkley left to join the Philadelphia Eagles, the Giants also picked up former Texans running back Devin Singletary, who they hope will be able to replace some of that missing production. So, to wrap up, the Giants revamped the O-line, surrounded Jones with new weapons, signed a promising running back, and of course, drafted the most critical piece of the puzzle, future Rookie of the Year, Malik Nabers. Picking up Nabers is the cherry on top of what's been a stellar offseason for the Giants thus far. In minicamp, his elite pass-catching skills and route-running abilities have thoroughly impressed staff members in New York so far. Vibes are good in Giants camp as a result, with Brian Daboll reportedly smiling on the sidelines throughout his drills on day one. It seems the Giants genuinely believe they have found a future star in Malik Nabers, and think he has what it takes to help this team contend in the near future. I wouldn't be surprised if we saw the Giants playing near the top of the NFC East at the end of the 2024 season. What do you think? Let us know in the comments.